Typhoon Shanshan is a Category 3 storm and really close to Japan in the main islands of Japan, but of course, as you can see on the satellite imagery, it's affecting some of the Ryukyu islands, and unfortunately Shanshan is expected to make landfall in Japan possibly by the next day or two, depending on its movement. Of course, it's moving completely to the north, and of course defying the forecasters again, since it's expected, well, it was expected that Shanshan could move to the north-northwest, but hasn't been happening, and this means that possibly landfall could be sooner than expected, unfortunately for Japan. As you can see, Category 3 typhoon positioned at 29.3 degrees north, 130.1 degrees east on its current coordinates. And the latest update at 15 hours local time in Tokyo, 0 hours in the UTC time. Shanshan is a 120 mile per hour typhoon on its center, 941 millibars pressure reading estimated, and moving to the north approximately at 6 miles per hour, completely to the north again, not moving to the north-northwest as expected. So this is something to actually take note of that, because the Joint Typhoon Warning Center has to update again or to change again the track forecast. As you can see on this graphic, the movement expected of Shanshan to the north-northwest and then a sharp turn to the east-northeast, and making landfall possibly by the next 36 hours approximately by this time. But of course, since it's moving to the north, that means that landfall could be sooner, and that means also that Shanshan could be stronger than expected by landfall, unfortunately for Japan. And this also means that larger effects or more damages could be done depending on how Shanshan moves. It's moving quite slowly, but expected to speed up a little bit, but still a really strong typhoon. It's not really common to see such strong typhoons on that kind of latitudes and in those locations as well. But unfortunately the conditions have been extremely favorable for typhoons to be that strong nearby Japan in general. The wind shear levels of Shanshan, as you can see on this graphic, are quite moderate, but not really affecting Shanshan until now. That actually are now affecting the system a little bit, but not that much to actually make such a greater effect of for the typhoon to weaken that fast before it makes landfall. So we could expect possibly a Category 2 typhoon landfall, unfortunately, and then it's when the wind shear is going to take toll of the system, but already after making landfall, unfortunately. And the sea surface temperatures 28 to 29 Celsius, completely favorable conditions, and it's quite interesting to see how warm are the sea surface temperatures, or how warm is the West Pacific basin with such high latitudes. It's not really common to see, and that's also been one of the reasons of why we've seen so far quite few storms, or quite few active systems with strong intensities in such locations nearby Japan, which is not really common to see. It's been only seen twice or 3 times on the last 70 years approximately, and so of course it's something really interesting to see on this year that actually has happened twice in a matter of 2 weeks or actually less. And the GFS model, as you can see, it's taking practically the forecast made by the Joint Typhoon Warning Center, but still the GFS model is predicting a really strong typhoon making landfall in Japan, possibly Category 2 or Category 3 intensity, and then rapidly weakening after landfall, particularly losing all its convection, but still managing to have the organization or the tropical characteristics. But of course, extratropical transition expected soon, possibly by the next 3 or 4 days, after this after that forecast of 3-day forecast, but still affecting Japan. So wind conditions, strong wind conditions, high rain accumulations, the storm surge, and practically all the things that occur when a tropical cyclone gets inland are going to be there in the Japanese islands, unfortunately, and a lot of people are going to be affected by this intense system, unfortunately. The multimodal diagnostics, basically you can see many disagreements on the intensity of the system, but basically you can see overall that the models are saying that Shanshan, it's a category 3 typhoon, low end to mid-range category 3 typhoon, gradual weakening expected and then substantial weakening after landfall, possibly by the next day, and of course losing typhoon strength, but that is after making landfall, unfortunately. The wind shear levels are expected to remain quite moderate, at least in the next 24 hours, and then decreasing substantially on the next day after landfall. Not really important after that point, but of course the wind shear levels are quite moderate, but not really affecting the storm that much. But it's something that could possibly change depending on how the storm behaves, since already has shown some weakening behavior since the eye has been shrinking a little bit. So let's see what happens. But so far it remains a really strong typhoon, category 3. Sea surface temperatures on this graphic 29 up overall, 28 to 29 Celsius, expected to increase a little bit, but not really making the storm to intensify, but possibly making the storm to maintain at least the typhoon status, and the humidity increasing up to 70%, quite moderate to high levels, but not really, of course, going to be beneficial for Shanshan so far, due to its latitude, due to its location, and when the wind shear usually tends to be extremely high on those locations. So let's see what happens. But so far it's looking quite interesting for Shanshan, since it has been a really difficult storm to predict and of course to track as well. An erratic track it's expected to occur, as you can see on different models. They are really they aren't really agree with a single track future of Shanshan. Could possibly move to the west, possibly to the north, possibly to the east. It's a really difficult scenario to predict for the forecasters about the future of the system, but so far it looks like that it's going to maintain the northward movements and then a sharp turn to the east-northeast, possibly by the next day. And this is the satellite presentation of Shanshan. As you can see on the satellite imagery, the eye has been shrinking and of course looking more asymmetrical than its previous on its previous imagery and on this animation, but still remaining a really strong typhoon. And let's see what happens. But so far it's not looking good for Japan, and there are going to be days, very difficult days for Japan and for the people there as well, since there's a really strong typhoon that is about to make landfall possibly by the next day. And those imageries you can find them on Force 13 channel, www.force13.com, and of course please stay updated and stay tuned with more content that we are going to make it public here in our YouTube channel and in our social media as well, so you don't miss anything about the tropical weather that occurs around the world. Of course, we have the Pacific Ocean quite active with that Typhoon Shanshan in the Western Pacific, and in the Central and Eastern Pacific with tropical storms Hone, Gilma and Hector, of course. So please stay tuned with more, and we are going to be back tomorrow with more updates with those storms. Thanks so much.
Become an ultimate fan today.